Hello friends, Adam here with FED. So today I want to talk about pairings in Fire Emblem 4 Genealogy of the Holy War. In particular, I want to do a pairing guide for one unit in particular, and that is Tailtiu, the one you see in the middle, who is surrounded by her two children, Arthur and Tinny. But before we get into that, I do need to talk about why pairings are important in FE4, why they even matter, and it really goes into being, like, it's honestly my favorite part of the game. So in Fire Emblem 4 Genealogy of the Holy War, it's split into two parts essentially, kind of like three houses, where there is a time skip in the middle, and after said time skip, you are given new units to use, and those units are generally speaking units that are produced by units from the first part of the first generation. We call it Gen 1 and Gen 2 is what we'll call it. So you essentially in Gen 1, the crux of the gameplay is all surrounding pairing units to create the best children possible. Now, if it's your first playthrough, I say just kind of pair units together that makes sense to you. If that makes, like, if you know what I mean, just pair units together that you think would just seem like they'd be good fits together. For instance, I have like Azel on here already because I'm going to use him as an example. Azel and Tailtu are both mages, so it's like they just pair them together and they make decent kids, right? So it's fine. So that's something, just kind of, honestly, if like two characters show some sort of story connection, they're probably a fine pairing as well. Just kind of fill it out. But this is more of an in-depth discussion, like kind of like a past your first playthrough, more just you want to like optimize, make the best team you possibly can. Not necessarily for like LTC or anything like that, but for just to have a good, strong army, right? So when we're talking about pairings in FE4, there's a few things you need to keep in mind, and that is weapon inheritance and skill inheritance. So in FE4, there's a basic skill system, and skills that are had by the father and skills that are had by the mother will be passed down to both kids. So, for instance, Azel has Pursuit, which is a very important skill that allows units to double, because for some reason in FE4, doubling isn't an inherent ability that everybody has. You have to have a skill that says, yes, you can double attack. And Tailtu has Wrath, which, much like in other games, once you're under 50% HP, you always crit when you hit. So Pursuit, Wrath, both kids will have Pursuit and Wrath if in this pairing, which is actually a fairly good skill set, mainly because Pursuit's so good. And Wrath will make it so they can get through the arena relatively easily. And then weapon inheritance is an important thing. So we have Azel and Tailtu here. If you pair them together, Arthur's going to get all the items from his father, being Azel here. And Azel is a mage just like Arthur, and he will pass down any weapons that Arthur can use, he will receive from Azel, essentially. Any weapons that Arthur can't use that Azel has will just be kind of discarded, essentially. You can find them later on in the world with the way the weapon system works. So that's really like the big important thing to consider, those two things. And then secondary to those two things, you have stats and growth, base stats and growth rates to account for, and I'll talk about those, of course. So, without further ado, let's get into pairing guide for Tailtiu. Alright, so now let's get into it. Tailtiu is one of the last units you receive in Gen 1 of Fire Emblem 4. She is very low level, relatively weak character. But she does allow you, when paired, to get potentially one of the best characters in Gen 2, being Arthur. And then Tinny, who is, footlocked, decent mage who gets staff access after promoting, which is pretty good. But I think Arthur is generally seen as better than Tinny, especially in some pairings that make him insane. And we'll talk about that when we get there. Sorry, you can probably hear my dog in the background. He's being fussy today. Alright, so I guess we'll start with Azel, which is like kind of like your basic pairing. This is the one that most people do on their first playthrough. It's the one that just like seems to make sense. And it does a fine job. With Azel, both kids will have Pursuit, which is important. They'll be able to double. And Azel will pass down minor follow blood, which means both the kids will have a decent magic stat. Decent to good magic stat no matter what, basically. So as far as making them like offensively decent, Azel's a good pick. It's not the best pairing for them, but I think it's up there with as one of the best. And then as far as cost goes, I'm going to put him like right here. Azel doesn't have very many pairings that are fighting to have him. And if Azel hasn't promoted yet, it's also really easy to pair them. Azel with Tailtiu. They'll have the same movement, so it's just like an easy thing. But if he's promoted, then you have to hold him back a little bit to pair him. But Azel doesn't have a whole lot he wants to go do. He's not like super important or intrinsic to your army at that point. So I don't know. I think it's a pretty easy pairing to make. And then no one else really wants him except for like Adine for the rescue staff. That's about it, really. Other than that, Azel is pretty much up for grabs. So I'm gonna put him like right here, low cost, and put him like right here for good. Not the best, but like both kids will be good with it. We'll do like right there. Yeah, we'll do that. All right, and now we'll just kind of go in alphabetical order. So next we have Alec. Alec is, you know, he doesn't pass down any magical things. He doesn't have a good magic base or growth or stats in general. The thing that he passes down is Pursuit. He'll also pass down Nihil, which cancels enemy skills, but there aren't very many enemy skills to worry about. It's a pretty worthless skill in my opinion. It's not something that's like in his favor when making pairings. His big thing is Pursuit. He passes Pursuit down, which is cool. That being said, I think this is a really bad pairing. This is one of the worst pairings for Tailtiu, in my opinion. I don't think it is the worst. I think there's one. I think there might be one or two that are worse, but one of the worst for sure. And as far as cost goes, I think it's extremely low cost. No one really wants Alec, as sad as that sounds. The one thing he does have is passing down Pursuit, but there's plenty of that to go around, honestly. Especially if you're planning your pairings if you're planning your pairings smartly, you really shouldn't need his Pursuit necessarily. So I don't know. Their stats will suffer with Alec as their father. Inheritance is a big issue as far as items go, but Pursuit's fine, which is why it's not like horrible. All right, next we have Arden. Arden's interesting because he has Vantage. So Vantage paired with Wrath is kind of like it's a gimmick, right? Where the units with Wrath and Vantage, you know, when they're under 50% HP, they'll always attack first and they'll always crit if they hit. So that can carry Arthur. That can carry Arthur for the first like maybe chapter or two he's available, but it doesn't. The longer you go, the more Arthur's magic stat is going to suffer from Arden's poor growths in that area to keep him from being able to one round with one single crit. And there is some argument for, you know, maybe his strength will be higher enough to use some powerful sword or something to make up for that once he becomes a mage knight and gets access to swords. But that's a pretty weak argument. So I think this is better than Alec just for the memes of Wrath Vantage, because that's honestly really good. And no one else really wants Arden either. So it's like super low cost. So I'm going to put him like, I don't know, I think it's like here. It's only like slightly better than Alec. If for no other reason than I think it's interesting. It's interesting. Okay, Beowulf. Beowulf. Very similar to Alec, honestly, in terms of how good it is. He also passes charge, so it's like automatically he's like better. Just more opportunities to attack. I don't know if their HP is like high enough for charge to activate all that often though, with him as a father. But it's just another one of those that's like not very good. Like, why would you do it? Kind of pairings, you know. And the cost is honestly pretty high because there are a couple other pairings that Beowulf fits into better, and he has Pursuit, passes down Pursuit, which is really big. So yeah, I'm gonna put him like, I think he is highly requested and honestly pretty bad. I'm like right there, sure. All right, Claude. Claude's another one that's talked about a lot in this pair for Tailtiu. They join at the same time, and it's hinted that they already have there's some sort of romantic tension between them. So I imagine a lot of players did this on their first playthrough, and it's all right. You know, Claude is a magic dude, so he'll be able to do some magic things to support the children well. But he doesn't. I don't know. I think it's worse than a Zell. Especially since he won't even be able to pass down the Valkyrie staff, which is the one use like bring a unit back from the dead staff thing, legendary weapon. Won't be able to pass it down to Arthur because Arthur can't use any healing magics. So I think it's honestly pretty good as far as their stats go. He doesn't pass down Pursuit either, which is like a big hurt for me too. I think this is like going to make the children okay. They're going to be fine, but they're going to miss out on having important skills like Pursuit. And the cost is pretty high. You lose out on the Valkyrie staff, and that's basically it. The Valkyrie staff isn't super important, especially when you can save every turn. But I don't know. It's a legendary weapon, and for some reason that's high enough on the list for me to be like important enough for me to say, yeah, it's pretty high cost to not be able to pass it down like you would be in a certain other pairing. There's really just like one other pairing that really wants Claude. So maybe we'll put them like right there. Alright, Do. How do you do? Do... He passes down Bargain. Bargain's cool. With his skill Bargain makes fixing your weapons and also just buying new items and weapons half cost. So that's really cool. He also passes down Soul, which Arthur can't use, and Tinny can only use after promotion. Because Soul in this game, which allows you to heal HP based on how much damage you did, when it activates. You don't have to activate on just like by random chance. But it can only be used by foot-locked sword units while using a sword. So again, Tinny could use it, Arthur cannot. So honestly, really bad pairing, and the stats are bad. Stats are bad. So it's like, yeah, it doesn't even pass Pursuit. So bad. This is probably the worst pairing. And I think it's like slightly high cost. There's actually quite a few people that don't mind Do as a father. There's quite a few pairings where Do is actually pretty good. There's none where he's like insanely like impactful and he's like the pairing to go for, but he's like decent in a lot of them. So we'll go there. And then item inheritance is also bad for Arthur. Okay. My boy Finn. Finn will pass down Prayer and Pursuit, which are two great skills, honestly. And Prayer, honestly, synergizes really well with Wrath, funny enough. If you get... Oh, sorry, I guess it's called Miracle in the new translation. Miracle. So, Miracle is actually an interesting skill in FE4. The way it works is that when your HP goes below 11, you get a bunch of extra Avoid. And the way it's calculated, it's like 11 minus your current HP times 10 is how much Avoid is added to your unit when Prayer is active. It's super convoluted and ridiculous, but if you can work it out, you can have an enemy phase where you have a 1-2 range unit who has basically perfect Avoid and Wrath, which is really funny. I think that's just like a really funny skill combo. And I think that's even better than Wrath Advantage if you can set it up. It's harder to set up, but I think it's better that way. Also, Pursuit. Passes Pursuit, which is really big. So I think that automatically makes him better than like Arden, who can't pass Pursuit down. And I'm gonna... But I still don't think it's like on this side. I don't think it's good. I still think it's bad, but it's fun. It's funny, at the very least. But this is a really, really high cost pairing. I don't like pairing Finn usually. When you pair Finn, he loses all of his weapons. Which isn't a huge deal. I mean, he'll come with an Iron Lance, which kind of sucks. But he also, he'll lose out on anything you want to have him inherit. You can't pass anything down to Arthur either. I mean, I find myself, I generally sell the Hero Lance before he leaves anyways. Or sorry, the Brave Lance before he leaves anyways to give it to, Aaron or something. But I don't know. It's too high a cost for me. And then there's other pairings that he does a lot better for. So yeah, we're gonna leave him here. Not worth it. And it's not even that good. We're gonna move it down a little bit. It's funny good, but it's not like good, right? Holland. Holland's interesting as well. He doesn't pass down Pursuit. He passes down Luna, which negates enemy defense for an attack. But it can, again, only can be used by Tinny after promotion because it's locked to swords and foot locked units. So Arthur can't use it ever. So super useless there. Doesn't even pass Pursuit. Actually, now that I think about it, this one's actually really bad. This one's down there with like 2. He passes down minor Odo blood, so they'll have high skill and they won't miss. So that's kind of nice. They won't miss as often, but I don't think that's worth it. So we're gonna go like, I don't know. I think slightly better than Do, and opportunity cost is pretty low. Trying to think. The only other pair, like, there's not really very many pairings that want Holland. The only ones you could really argue, like Ira for major Odo memes. And then, like, I don't know, maybe Lachesis or something to pass down swords to Delmud. I don't know. I'm gonna put him like right there. No, sorry for the crying baby. She's just she's sleepy. All right. Next we have Jamka, or Jamki, or Jamka, however you say it. He is horrible. He'll pass down Continue and Charge, so that's kind of cool. But no Pursuit. No Pursuit. No bows. He doesn't pass down any magic. So yeah, again, one of the worst ones. Pretty low cost as well. Pretty low cost. I'm gonna just put it like, for him though, I'm gonna put it like right here, because if he's paired with 18, you do get the Brave Bow. So that's a thing. But you can also just get that with Madir. I don't know. It's go back and forth there. So I'm gonna put him there. I think he's bad. Anyone that's on this side here, on the all the way on the left, I wouldn't even consider normally, and I haven't thought about him a whole lot because it's something that I wouldn't even ever do. So yeah, anyone like that, it's like Alec, you know, the Alex, your Dews, Jamkas, all them. Yeah, gross pairings. Don't like them. All right, the big one. The big one everyone's been waiting for. Lewyn, or Lewyn, depending on the translation. This is definitely the best pairing for Tailtiu. It's not even a competition. So, Lewyn will pass down the best weapon in the game, being Force Seti, which is 30 might, wind tome, so 1-2 range, 30 might. It gives the user 20 speed and 10 skill, making, in many situations, the person using it unhittable, or close to unhittable. So that would go straight to Arthur, and you'll have it from you'll have it within the first 10 turns of the second generation. You'll have the best weapon in the game for the entire rest of the game. And Arthur, on top of that, gets a horse. Many argue that this is the best use of Force Seti. Tinny will be fine. She'll be whatever. She'll have high speed, decent magic, and staffs. That doesn't really affect her all that much. But this makes Arthur a god. Makes him one of the best units in the game. So yeah, amazing. As good as it gets. The cost is very high though. Cost is high. And here's why. Honestly, no, the cost isn't even that high, thinking about it. I'm going to put it like right there. Because you can pass Force Seti down to a couple other units, being Corporal through Sylvia, and Sed through Aaron. And while they also can become really powerful with Force Seti, they don't have horses. And Horse Seti is best Force Seti. The only thing that this lacks is you don't pass down Pursuit, which can be a bit of a problem, but he does pass down Continue and Critical. And Continue will activate like so often, it's ridiculous with Force Seti. Because it works off of your skill as a percentage. So it's like, it's something, the Continue, or sorry, Adept activation rate is literally your speed plus 20 as a percent. As a percent, and it's just busted as heck. Arthur he'll use Continue all over the place, and if you really want Pursuit on him, there's the Pursuit ring, and in that situation, that is the best place for the Pursuit ring to be, like the most effective. So I can see some people saying that the cost is super high, But I don't think it's that high, because I think other pairings do well for... I think Sed can still be fine with just about any pairing, honestly. And then Corporal is a staff bot for the most part. Doesn't really need Force Seti to be useful. Whereas Arthur really benefits from it. Really benefits from it. Yeah. Amazing pairing. Amazing pairing. Alright, let's scroll down. Lex. Okay, Lex is a funny one. Lex is a fun one too. So Lex, like Arden, passes down Vantage. So we got the Vantage Wrath combo. But he also passes down Paragon, which is going to make it so your units grow faster, right? So Paragon is times 2 HP, times 2 experience. So they'll level up super fast. And because they don't have to worry about buying the Paragon ring for arena-ing and whatnot, they'll have a lot of extra excess gold. Maybe they can buy things like your magic rings, your defense rings, your barrier rings, whatever you need. And that's nice. That's fun. But they will have the same problem that Arthur Tailtu did, in that Wrath Vantage is really cool and might work for the first couple, for the first like chapter or two, but it starts to fall off and most likely won't one round with it, meaning that they'll still be in danger. It also doesn't pass on Pursuit, which is a pain, big pain. It's definitely better than Arden just because it also has Paragon. I think that does put it like slightly above. Actually, I'm gonna put it like slightly below Finn because no Pursuit. I mean, with this pairing though too, they also will have like decent defense, so that's something to consider. And like Arthur might have decent-ish strength, so again, the argument of like, oh, just give him a sword after he promotes to use Wrath with, I still don't think it'll be enough, especially since res is generally lower than defense. So while interesting, I don't think it is that good. And I think Lex is pretty high cost. A lot of people want Lex, even though Lex is weird. He can't pass down any weapons. He doesn't pass down weapons to units, like at all. Like, no one. He can't pass down axes to anyone, which is so painfully annoying. That's something that they fixed in FE4 binary, which is actually a really cool change. There's actually some children that use axes that you can pass down to. But Lex, poor dude, never passes down any useful weapons. So, I think he's pretty high cost just because of his skill set that he passes down for just Paragon, essentially, and really great stats. But he's not, I don't know, you can make other units work, essentially, in place of Lex, for a lot of people. So I'll put him like right there. I'm going to move Beowulf up, because I think that's fair. I think he is definitely more sought after than Beowulf. Alright, Medir, or Medale, or whatever the frick you call this dude. Medir. Passes Pursuit down. That's basically all he's got. I think it's pretty bad. I also think it is relatively high cost. Relatively high cost. I'm gonna put him down a little bit too. For similar reasons to Jonka, if you pair Medir with Aideen, you get the the Brave Bow, which is really good weapon, and nice to have for Gen 2 especially. So we're gonna go like here, I guess. I think it's really bad. It's really bad, but Pursuit is like better than what Do and Jonka can pass down. I think it's similar to like Holen. No Inheritance either. It's just gross. And like honestly, I think it's like same cost as Jonka, but like slightly better. So I'm gonna put him like right there. Alright, next we have Noish. So Noish he won't pass down Pursuit, so the kids won't have Pursuit, but they'll have Charge and Critical, which is cool. Those are a couple of sought after skills. But he won't pass down any magic. He won't pass down any good magic stats for the kids. Honestly, this is up there with the worst in the game for them. But he actually does really well. Noish is really weird. He's honestly like a really bad Gen 1 unit. He still has a horse, so he's like okay. But he's pretty bad. So I think but he's actually a pretty good dad. So I think the cost is relatively high. I think he's more sought after than like Beowulf, but not quite as much as Lex. We're gonna do this. Yeah, there we go. Because Noish really passes, like, Noish Ira is a fun pairing for me. The kids will have Pursuit, Critical, Charge, and then after promotion for one of them, we'll add Continue as well. And I think that's a really fun pairing. And he passes down like pretty good like growths and bases to cover up what Ira has going on. So I think that's a fun pairing, and I think you'll miss out on that. Or Noish Aaron is a good cover up there if you don't want to put Lewyn there. Noish Lachesis is actually decent. So I think there's quite a few units that similarly to Beowulf, but not quite. I think we're gonna do this. It's fine with me. All right. Is that everybody? I think that's everybody. Did we do everyone? I think we did. Wow, that was fast. I don't know. I probably did miss someone, and someone's gonna yell at me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's all the dads. Kind of a weird spread for Tailtiu. She's a hard unit to really pair up and make the kids good with anyone except for like Claude, Azelle, and Lewyn. Yeah. I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. You feel free to tell me I'm wrong. Yeah. I do think that like Lewyn is by far and away the best pairing for Tailtiu. He's just wanted by a few other people as well, which is why he's a little down. He's down there on high cost a little bit. But yeah, let me know what you would change. Do you think this is fair? Do you think this is stupid? Do you think I'm dumb? I'll take all your answers, and I'll ignore them. I'm just kidding. I won't ignore them because this is all about discussion, right? Anyways, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like the video, all that, and tell me which pairing guide you want me to do next. Thanks, guys.